Hey everyone, welcome to Zeitgeist Zealots. I'm Forrest.
And I'm probably not going to make any friends today. I'm Major.
And I'm Robbie. And there's Matt.
Matt is here
somewhere.
also.
Dear Lord, do we lose our resident Dune
Matt?
expert?
Matt,
You're muted.
he was just there.
Oh, did he?
Oh, we lost him.
And
I
think
guess he did have some problems.
I heard him say like, "Damn it!" So maybe there was like a family.
Oh.
So, but
And then we started.
so basically, I think today we're gonna discuss Dune. We watched it on Thursday. We had a little
we
watch
watched
party
together. We did. That was our first watch party, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Let me see if
that
we
was
can-
fun.
we can see if we can upload it to YouTube. Get that channel more love.
I mean, I would
I'm not sure how that would. I'm not sure how
Matt,
that would work
He's back.
without
All right.
syncing the movie to it or something.
Oh, that's what.
And I don't
people
know
do.
if YouTube would let you do that, would it?
Probably not sync the movie, but we could put in like the description. Also, that would be impossible to sync because we paused so many times.
Yeah, we did.
And plus, watching the video, it's not like what we were looking at Zoom. It's just like one person at a time of whoever was making background noise or something.
Oh no!
So it's gonna be a lot of Forrest's
shot. Matt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically, it's
dirty
gonna be
look.
sitting on Forrest, just staring the whole time,
A good 2 hours.
or
of that.
just like his ceiling fan half the
So-
video.
Sounds like a good time. Yeah, so we watched Dune, and I think the general consensus was it was adequate. Is that fair to say, or less than adequate?
I think for
Adequate
me,
is
like
the perfect word.
I
Okay,
want to.
adequate.
It caught my interest. It makes me want to check out the book, especially hearing from Matt how well the book was versus the movies, because
Oh
they
yeah,
just
you'll
can't.
love the book.
They have trouble capturing like what they are trying to say
It's
in the
just
books,
too much
basically.
substance. Yeah, too much substance in the books.
And
to,
they didn't
you
have
know.
the like technology to show it off back in the day, and now they're trying again, basically.
They didn't
So-
even have Sting wearing a codpiece like they did in '84. So
Yes,
you know,
but
that was
for someone like me going in fresh,
Yeah, it
just
felt
not
like I
really
wasn't in on
knowing
it.
much. Not knowing much about Dune, they do not do a very good job of explaining things.
Nope.
It
And
seems to be made for people who are already Dune fans.
Right?
Well,
yeah,
they-
it was shot to have like mass appeal, and yeah, I felt like
I had to keep
not
asking
on, like,
questions.
the inside joke. If it feels like when you're on the outside, and everyone's like laughing at the inside joke, like oh no, I totally get this, but you don't. And then it turns
Awkward
out that like all great sci-fi, kind of had some origins and stole some stuff from Dune. But because I'm just seeing Dune now, and I've seen all these other references beforehand, it just seemed like Dune was ripping them off when it was like the other way around.
yeah. So what didn't you get, or what didn't you understand from the movie?
The appeal, boom, got him.
I mean, like story wise. Okay.
Yeah, no, I
But
couldn't.
you got
just
you
like,
got the story. I guess.
Well, and the people,
Yeah.
the people we keep cutting to that they don't really mention, they just cut to them, and you're like, who are
Like
these
the
guys?
You
But
mean the hard.
But you
how-
guys who read the book and seen some of the other stuff, you're already catching it, and I'm just trying to read into it.
You mean like the bald people, the Harkonnens?
Well,
The
really, any of
Barons,
them.
the-
I'm
yeah.
going in just totally fresh, not knowing anything. So
Oh, okay.
And then
I
like,
don't
the
I don't
music-
know all these names.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, they're really weird names, but they didn't really do a good job explaining what mentats were. They kind of
Exactly.
do that weird eye thing, and I guess we're just supposed to know that they're not exactly human, but basically they really should have explained that those guys are basically living computers because they can't have computers in the Dune verse anymore because they had like a big
I missed that completely.
yeah.
Well, yep, Bootlarian Jihad. It's because of that you're not allowed to have computers. So you have these
Bless you.
superhumans, these mentats, and I feel they totally glossed over because they are important. Like having a mentat is like one of the most important things the house needs, and completely glossed over that.
And they have to use the spice to, I guess, use their mental powers, right?
Mhm.
Or two, I think so.
Yeah, how can spice? It seems a little. Oh shit!
It's like vibranium; it can do anything.
There you go.
you know?
That's where
it's whatever
it
the
seems a
plot
little
needs.
like vibranium. You're telling me you can get high, you can live longer, and you can do intergalactic space travel.
Yeah,
from
it's
just
like
one
fuel.
substance. Like I'll
fuel
tell you
for
right
the
now,
body, fuel for ships.
if
And all
you
they
can
do
get
is-
high off of a substance, there will not be enough of it for you to do intergalactic space travel. Like Jeff Bezos couldn't get off the ground if it took all the marijuana in Seattle to get him into space, there just wouldn't be enough supply.
Speaking of Mentats, they really didn't give Piter a lot to do, which was like the Harkonnens Mentat. Like he was barely a character in this. And
Yeah, exactly.
he's sort of like a Loki-esque character in the book. You know, he's like very devious, or like Littlefinger. He's like very devious, and he's actually after Lady Jessica. I think in the book they like definitely, you know, ignored that section.
Yeah, he
the voice
schemes.
was really cool.
Yeah, he schemes a lot, even with the Harkonnen scheming. So like, there's like this backstab to a backstab to a backstab type thing in the book.
I didn't get any of that, except for you might be talking about the one guy who fought a bunch of guys and then had to put the poison tooth in his mouth. The problem with all these names are I don't know any of these names except Paul.
Well, the guy who played Polka Dot Man was Piter. He looked just like Polka Dot Man, except like Polka Dot Man wore all black.
Wait, are you talking about from the Suicide Squad? The Polka Dot Man?
Yeah. The same actor was in Dune.
Oh, okay.
But just very.
This
briefly.
was a star-studded cast. I was a little underwhelmed by Dave Bautista and.
Oh yeah, I didn't actually notice they were all in there till they popped up.
They didn't really give Josh Brolin a lot to do in this.
No.
So hopefully
I didn't
he'll
even
come back.
realize that was Josh Brolin. Like, I looked at that jawline and I was like, you know who'd be great for this character? Josh Brolin. I wonder why he's not playing him. But it was Josh Brolin. I was like,
Well,
oops.
I think that's another issue with the adequacy of this movie is you have these superstars, and never once do you play to like their acting ability, their strengths. And in fact, the worst one that sticks out is Dave Bautista. They went way too Dave Bautista with Raban. You know what I mean? He's just this maniac madman, which he is, but like I felt it came off really trite.
How does Drax
in his
have a better
scenes.
personality?
Exactly.
Last Drax.
Well, I'm hoping there's going to be like an extended cut, like Lord of the Rings did, and then maybe they'll like insert a lot of these
It's the Snyder cut.
extra character exposition moments for
I think-
Piter, Raban, and maybe Dr. Yue.
I think you're smoking
Think you're-
spice. I would be surprised if
Maybe.
we saw a part 2. I think
Same.
this is
Well,
gonna
it's
go
doing
down.
it's actually doing pretty well. I think the Thursday night screenings were pretty good, and they were.
I think
It's made more money than Suicide Squad already.
No,
I think in
really?
its entirety. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Wait,
Even
the
Suicide Squad's
Suicide
much
Squad?
better. Yeah, the Suicide Squad, not the original Suicide Squad, which did
Right,
make a
but
lot of money,
the-
but was shit. But
Rotten Tomatoes 91% audience score.
Yep. 83
Yes.
critic too. So it's
Maybe-
Yeah.
Dennis
Maybe
I don't
Villeneuve,
just
get
didn't
it.
talk the entire time during the movie. It's more
I think
enjoyable.
Denis Villeneuve. has
Yeah,
a lot
I'm thinking of rewatching it without commentary because I feel like the commentary made me miss a lot of things,
I think
and
you'll
I'm
enjoy it
already
more.
not following some of the stuff.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it more once you like understand the lore more.
But
all
isn't it
that
the movie's
stuff.
job? Isn't it the creator's job to
Yeah.
get that story across to me? Like
Well-
like Spencer was like, oh, I'm not gonna like. Spencer was like, oh, I probably wouldn't have liked it because you guys were talking. But like my counterpoint is, like that wouldn't have happened if we were watching The Dark Knight. Like if the movie was better, there would have been a less desire for.
I mean, overall, it was a pretty cool movie. I just needed to follow some of the things a little better.
I will say this. I love slow burns, and this is definitely a slow burn before you get to the action. However, you do have to explain a ton, and I think one of the biggest complaints on Rotten Tomatoes is how long it takes to get to the action. So I can imagine as a director, you're like, dude, I already have 2 hours of exposition. I have to get to something at some point. And if you put in more of that background lore, I'll get to that in a minute. But to
Okay.
put all the background lore in already and then have to explain more, I think audiences would have been walking out of their seats. And this goes back to the whole argument of, do you make it for the nerds or do you make it for the bigger crowd to come and see?
You just don't make it for the movies. You make it on HBO Max or Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Make it premium streaming television. That's how this story deserves to be told. 14,
Exactly.
20 hours over 3 fucking seasons.
With all these houses betraying and killing each other. Yeah, I think the first part of the movie was actually more interesting for me because even though it wasn't even heavy on action, but I think just like setting up
The pacing
the world,
was much
the
better.
lore, the introduction of
Oh,
the
yeah.
characters was good.
Oh man,
Wow.
they're shields that they can just wear like wristbands. That's pretty cool.
That was
Yeah,
cool.
so that's why they have like bladed weapons are back in style now because
So did they say something about like a generator they have to have, or is it straight just those wristbands?
It depends on the size of the shield.
Yeah, if they're blocking a whole building or just a person.
Yeah, or the ornithopters, that's why they're throwing the shield generators off.
In like the '84 movie, like the shields look like giant Tron blocks.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's really stupid looking.
It's crazy too, because I will say this on the positive side, the costumes in this movie are stunning.
Oh, dude,
whoever
the
was their
visuals,
costume design,
just the visuals alone are amazing.
Well, I'd hope so, Rob. I can't wait for you to send us one of those CGI.
Oh, the VFX artist react
when comes out, because I was reading that it took the visual effects artist a year to perfect.
I'm
this,
sure
the sandworm.
I'm sure that channel I follow on YouTube is gonna definitely have one on Dune.
Do you want to plug them real fast? What was that channel called again that you really liked?
Oh, it's called Corridor Crew.
Corridor Crew?
Yeah,
Cool.
or you could just search VFX Artist React and they'll pop up.
Nice.
Well,
Yeah,
I will say
when you show those, when you send those.
I will say this about the visuals though, like the graphics were stunning at times, but then at times you could just tell they're standing in front of a green screen.
Yeah.
And it looked so bad. It's like, how do you go from this extreme to like there's one scene where they're meeting Liet Kynes in front of an ornithopter and they're not even like matched up with the background.
Yeah.
Like it is so bad. And it's that extreme that makes it the adequate, movie. It's like a C student. I've done enough. I'll just fudge the rest to get a C.
Right.
And that's how I feel about this movie.
You put all of your money, you pour all of your time and effort into like the body and the conclusion. You just have like a shitty intro, right? Or you have an amazing intro and summary, but like it's just not a complete package. And because parts of the CGI are bad, I think it kind of overall negatively affects the movie.
But when we were watching it too, Major, we both caught on the scene in which they're bombing Arrakis, and you see all these bombs coming down, and it starts to explode, and then they cut to Jessica. You don't get that extra 2 seconds of explosions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, why?
Right. And that's not just for the explosions. We get that in the fight scenes too. It just doesn't feel as impactful. The cutaway scenes, right? Like how it cuts, you don't really get to feel the impact of the punches.
I bet they started running out of money or something on the
I mean, they only had a $165 million budget, and
a lot of it probably went to the
It did seem like there was more in the beginning than the end.
They
had the whole sandworm at the end.
Yeah,
though,
it took them a year to work on the sandworm. Like that sounds expensive.
But too, with the sandworm, we suffer from the Game of Thrones issue where it was so dark. If they just lit that scene a little bit better and actually showed the whole sandworm, it would have been so much better.
You would see the worst of the CGI that they couldn't afford to finish.
But shadows are some of the hardest part to put into effects.
But there were times, though, I don't know if it was just me, but there were scenes where it's like, what's going on? It's way too dark. And it's not my screen's black balance, No,
yeah, I have an OLED, which, self-illuminating, perfect blacks and stuff, so it gives infinite contrast. And no, I'll tell you right now, some scenes were just too dark. I was like, did Game of Thrones rip this off too?
I do think like the visions of the future were kind of weird, and like basically it was like this is where all like the action scenes from the trailer were inserted in.
Oh, with him and Zendaya?
Him in the Spartan armor. And it's like, this seems like a cheat. This isn't even like actually happening right now. It's just like a vision for the future.
Look what could happen.
Yeah. Look what might happen if you tune into this movie and we get a sequel.
I think one of the coolest parts,
if you give us a sequel, you'll get this.
And one of like the easiest parts to understand as a new, would-be, wannabe fan coming into this movie is the voice, right? That seemed cool. And then they briefly touch on it, hint at it at the beginning, put some intrigue in there. And then they just don't really bring it up until like much later, like 2 hours later in the movie.
These aren't the Atreides you're looking for.
Don't you use the voice on me, right? They didn't explain that box. That was a weird scene.
Yeah, that really had nothing to do with the actual movie, I guess, besides, But it's such an iconic scene in the book that,
what was, so first off,
they had no explanation. They just threw you in that scene, it felt like.
Yeah, and like his mom was outside, and like I was like, is this physical pain? Are they linked? I don't know this universe. Maybe it's just emotional pain. Here's your son crying.
That was one of my questions I put in there while we were commenting.
The Kwisatz Haderach, which is like the chosen one in the Dune universe.
I'm gonna keep.
So
doing that,
they had to she had to test him to make sure he wouldn't react like an animal, because if he did, he has all this power, and if he's going to be an animal, then he's not going to be worthy of it. So
well, the other thing too is this is kind of like Wheel of Time, where men don't get taught this, women do, and so to teach them this is like sacrilege. She was supposed to have a daughter.
I did catch
and
up
supposed
on
to
that.
taught her daughter this.
Now that was confusing. Like, she broke the rules. I'm like, hold on. Did sex change in the future? Like, how can you determine?
You're
the
supposed
gender
to
of your
choose.
baby now?
She's magic, so she can like make her.
Yeah, Bene
her
Gesserit can.
child.
Why
Oh,
the
is it-
hell did you click male?
Is it the midichlorians?
It's the spice.
It's
always
a
the
lot.
spice.
It's a lot better explained in the second book of the series as to why that is.
Which is fine, but I'm in the movie and I want the
Have
explanation.
they
now.
ever done like a Dune Messiah adaptation? Like they did like Children of Dune on Sci-Fi, I think, right? But they
Yeah.
never did Dune Messiah, which is like the second one, right?
Yeah, maybe. I haven't seen it. I haven't come across it. So,
But you have read the
wanna
second
mute your
book.
mic?
Second book, B.
Who is that?
Oh, sorry, I'm washing a spoon.
Oh, okay.
That's not what it sounds like. Just for the record, every stream of water sounds like pee when you're on a podcast.
Yeah, it sounds like you're peeing still, right?
Pouring a beer.
So yeah, do you think, Matt? Do you think they'll, if they do Greenlight Part 2, which they might do because it seems to be like they want, like, Warner Brothers wants to keep Denis Villeneuve happy because they just lost Nolan.
yeah.
So they really need to keep a good director happy. So I don't know. They might just cut their losses and do Part 2, and I think it would be a good investment, even if the first one, because they greenlit. Suicide Squad, the first one made money, but so I don't know. We'll just see. It seems to be doing well so far. And
I mean,
I-
you get
audience-
James Gunn and you ask him what he wants to do.
I think Part 2 is going to be 50-50. But what you might see is somebody like Amazon come in and buy the rights to the books and do like a mini series of the books, because that seems to be Amazon's MO lately.
Yeah, I'm just interested. Like, if they do Part 2 and that does really well, will they do Dune Messiah? Is that even worth doing?
Yeah, I mean, if it does well, they'll do every spinoff until it's not well.
Exactly.
Until it's bad.
Well, I just think there's probably more substance there than like what Harry Potter has. Like, they basically just like, let's take the Fantastic Beasts textbook, which isn't even really a story. It's just a textbook, like, with definitions, with Harry, Ron, and Hermione writing notes.
I own the
to get
book.
fans to buy it. So, but at least there's like more substance for the Dune universe to use.
I mean, we're seeing a time in which if something's slightly successful, there's going to be as many spin-offs as you can make until it's beat to death. So,
Yeah. Well, I guess like Part 2, I thought it was interesting that like he killed the black dude, Jamis, whatever. But they had Jamis, they had like a vision where he's like, "I will show you the ways of the desert," and then boom, they kill him. So it's like, I thought that was a little weird.
I'll show you later.
and I will say that whole scene at the end I felt was so rushed.
The fight scene?
Like the fight scene,
What
and
was
the
that? How
he
is
is
that
and
ultimate?
getting his champion. It's like this quick bam 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 done, and then
It wasn't
Chani
like
likes
a-
him.
It wasn't even like a fight. Like, he just kept like disarming him and like, I'm not gonna kill him. All right, fine. I have to fucking kill him this time. It was anticlimactic. It wasn't the struggle for the protagonist.
No. Also, Javier Bearden looked like he did not want to be there.
Yes.
He just looked so unenthusiastic and like just so dreary-eyed, and it's like a complete 180 from like his Raul Silva character, or who was the other one, Anton Chigurh, where he's actually acting. He seemed like he was definitely phoning this in.
You want
But-
to talk about 180s? What about Oscar Isaac
I thought he did a good job.
wanting to be a pilot? I was like, come on, man, come on.
Oh yeah. And what else? I don't know. So I guess they'll give Javier Bardem a lot more to do in the second movie, since it'll focus more on Paul and the Fremen, I guess, rising up to take on the Harkonnens and the Emperor.
And the worst ending line to a movie ever is in this film. This is just the beginning.
This is
It's
just
like,
part.
fuck off.
This is just part one of a 7-part
If
franchise.
it's just
hopefully.
the beginning, then fucking start the movie there.
Or it's like she just like, this is just the beginning, and she turns the camera. If you keep like only wink.
No, I really felt
If it
that
makes
was
enough money.
That would
a
be
wall
funny.
break there. That was definitely a wall break there, and it just ruined. Like it was too cheeky, I feel.
It's like basically just egging the audience, like, "Hey, you gotta tell your friends and come see this, otherwise you won't get part 2."
They went,
Yeah, exactly.
You know we'll be back.
They went 2 hours without a lens flare, and then they just couldn't stop. They just couldn't help themselves. They're like,
Lens flares.
let's sneak a couple in at the very end here.
Yeah. So I don't know. Hopefully,
Yeah,
it does
we're
get
just like,
taken.
this is what we came for.
Also,
Lens
Master
flares.
expression.
they did not advertise this was gonna be part 1 at all in like the
Yeah,
trailers or anything.
very-
It
very
was like
good.
it's like, and then in the opening credits, it was like Dune part 1. It's like how it started to drop this bombshell on you, but yeah, this isn't the full story.
At least
so.
they didn't start with like part 4.
I would say like Dune Part 4. That would have been a mind fuck right there. I was like, what the hell?
Dune.
Are we this chapter house Dune?
Yeah.
In the 80s, they were all the
Yeah. With the books, I will say this about the books, though. Definitely read Frank Herbert's ones. The first 3 are great. The last 3 kind of wane. But when his son took over, don't bother. It was obviously him and other writers, Anderson, trying to make money off this franchise and totally ruined the narrative when they started doing the prequels. So,
Yeah, I don't like when like it's sort of like J.R.R. Tolkien's son. Like he's sort of a dick too. Like he just shits on the movies as well. Even though they probably paid him like millions of dollars, but it's like I don't like when like the sons of authors who haven't really accomplished anything, like they act like authorities on the franchise, and it's just like, you know, you're just his son, you know. I mean, I get they're in charge of like, you know, the rights and stuff, but it's just like sort of like just come up with your own franchise, man. So,
you know, and overall, I will say that this movie, for the most part, followed the books fairly well. You know, they just didn't explain a lot. I love the exposition dumps a lot better than in previous shows we've watched. But what kills me is when a director or producer throws something from left field completely different than the books, and it just kind of ruins it for the nerds. And that's the whole Liet Kynes, the Imperial Ecologist, totally ruined that character in the movie, and how that character passed away. I won't give away how they do it in the books. It is so much better in the books how that character passes away, and it was just frustrating to see. Oh, I'm being attacked. I'll take out Sardaukar with a worm.
that didn't happen in the book?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so I know she was like gender bent in the movie. So she was like a man and who's Shawnee's father then?
Yeah, exactly. Liet Kynes, you know, gets in with the Fremen, becomes part of the Fremen, and is there for so long that he is the father to Chani, who ends up becoming involved with Paul. And it's just like totally, I don't know. It upset me.
I thought Jamis
rage.
might have been her dad. Like they just obviously they have the gender bend the mother now to make sense, but I don't know if they'll ever say who her father was. But yeah, I mean she was cool. She didn't really have a whole lot to do. The Kynes character. So she's like basically like the big scene in the book. I remember reading is like when they go to rescue those miners, and then before they gets eaten by the sandworm. What I didn't like though was like they sort of like revealed the Freeman walk, like because you can't have like constant rhythm when you're walking, otherwise the sandworms will find you. So like I think like in the book, like they don't know that there's a special walk you have to do in the desert to avoid sandworms, but they sort of like revealed it in the recordings.
Exactly. So. And what kills me about that too is he watches that video in the beginning, so he knows how to walk like the Fremen. Yet until they reach the Fremen, they just run straight on the dunes. And it's like, you can't do that.
Well, I think there's like one scene where he's like, walk this way. Walk this way.
But that's much later after they've been in the desert for a while. Throughout like when Jessica and Paul are in the desert before they meet the Fremen, they're just running and walking straight. And it's like, A, no. B, you saw the video saying you can't do that. C, you know, all of a sudden when you get towards the Fremen, you know it.
Yeah, that made me upset because the Freeman secrets are supposed to be that. They're supposed to be like really secretive about like how they can survive in the desert. You know, not just like with the still suits, but also like avoiding sandworms, and they have like the Freeman kit, right, which like sets off a pulse.
Mm-hmm.
And what else do they have in their kit?
They have the thumper. They have a still suit. They have this special compass because they don't have a true magnetic north.
Oh yeah. So like this is all stuff that's extremely secretive to outsiders. So.
But we're dumping on this film, but it is worth seeing. It is visually stunning. I feel it is still a good movie. But we're getting into like why there are bad things, and I think the casting once again is what kind of does it in. They went for the superstars to get the people in the seats, and two characters. Jason Momoa as Duncan Idaho, and Gurley being Brolin. I loved him, but I don't know why they enter with them playing bagpipes instead of him playing his instrument like he does in the book.
Why are there
like
bagpipes 10,000?
Yeah, was there even bagpipes?
Yeah, I remember you mentioned
You're
that.
telling me the word free man. You're telling me free man couldn't survive a fucking bagpipes dead? Get out of here.
But like Momoa's character in the books is like kind of this, like you look at him and you don't really think he's badass, but he is. But then you see Jason Momoa, you're like, this dude's badass. Like that kind of takes away from his character.
His badass.
Well, he's sort of like WB's biggest star right now because of Aquaman. Like that's made more money than even the Batman films. Well, any single Batman film, but
crazy.
So they definitely wanted to milk Jason Momoa in this, and I thought he lived in the book, doesn't he? Because doesn't he show up in some of the sequels, or does he die in the book?
I can't recall at the top of my head, but I do feel like in one of them they actually clone him, even though cloning is illegal. And the clone is sent to kill Paul, but like it gets very convoluted.
Oh, okay. Come give Duncan a hug,
so,
Paul.
Yeah. No, Duncan is killed. They create like a clone, this Assassin's Guild, and then they get close because Paul is so powerful, knowing that it's sent there to kill him. And it's like I said, I think it's the third book.
Okay, Children of Dune.
Yeah.
So who are the other players after the Harkonnens and the Padishah Emperor are off the table, like the Assassin's Guild?
Yeah,
So
the traveling guild, House Carino, even though they're destroyed. I think House Carino plays politics because they're married to Paul now, because he ends up marrying the princess to align themselves.
Irulan? Okay.
Yeah. So it's a lot more.
I got a question about it.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a dumb question, not sure. So is this 10,000 years on Earth, or is this like another planet we found on like 10,000 years?
Well, they're from Caladan, Atreides, and so this is just kind of a made up and it's not even like.
So it doesn't have anything.
They're like the human race is originally from Earth, but they've sort of ventured out to the stars.
Oh, okay.
And they've.
That's what I thought. Planets. I wasn't sure if this was like Earth. They're on Earth, but it's like 8,000 years later. It's just a desert
weird,
planet or something.
Where are the Freemen natural to Arrakis, or do they like the people go there and settle from Earth?
They go into their backstory, like in one of the books, and they like came thousands and thousands of years ago and were able to adapt. And I think it's kind of like an Australia thing where they were like on the run, or they
convicts?
were convicts. So
it's like the Freemen don't have any spaceships; they can't like leave Arrakis.
Nope.
Also, I guess strangely absent was the Spacing Guild, right?
Yep.
Like the ones they weren't in this movie.
The whole scene in the David Lynch version where you see what they become when they do too much spice, and he has the scene where he's talking with one of the with the Emperor saying, "Make sure this is dealt with. The spice must flow." Never once did they say the spice must flow in this movie. That is pivotal to this universe.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Spacing Guild are the ones who are really in charge, and the Emperor is just sort of like a puppet, it seems.
Yep, pretty much.
And like the Spacing Guild never revealed themselves, I guess, except to the Emperor, because they just provide transportation. They don't actually show people who they are. So,
Yeah, and I feel like they didn't really stress enough how important spice is. They don't show you. They told you. They're just like, it is
and
important.
Them farming it at one day.
You know, but they didn't show like why it's so important. What happens when you don't have the spice? You know, like they just told you spice is important.
That would be cool if they dug into that more.
Yeah. So, oh well. We'll see if they get a part 2.
Reading a thing about apparently Earth is out there. It got destroyed a long time ago, though.
Yeah.
Irradiated, and it's just, what does it say?
I'm sure they did a movie. I mean, I'm sure like his son wrote a book about the computer jihad or whatever.
Yeah, Butlerian jihad. Yeah, and you know, a big thing too is you have to remember this book is written in '67, so you have to put your mindset of what's happening in the U.S. in the '60s. And Herbert was a scientist as well, and so you'll see, you know, a lot more allegories if you know a little bit of historical context of the '60s.
Yeah, trying to get the oil from the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
There was probably a lot of unrest there.
The Bene Gesserit are, you know, a certain country who is always plotting and scheming and trying to get the region to do what they want, you know.
Yeah. So I'm guessing in the sequel, if they do one, they're going to have to cast the Emperor. Who do you think they should cast as the Emperor?
Russell Crowe.
Oh, that'd be good.
I could see that because
really, I don't know who the Emperor is, but it just seems like a good one.
The Padishah, yeah.
He's like the mastermind behind the events, like the one who's trying to take down Atreides. So Russell Crowe would be good. I know Christoph Waltz plays a lot of villains, and maybe he'd be good. They also got to introduce Fade Rautha, who is the Baron's heir, and he's sort of like, I guess, like a parallel to Paul. Like he's like the young successor or the young protege of House Harkonnen, and he's going to take over from the Baron one day. So it's like he's like Paul's rival. I guess.
And he might have power too, and the Bene Gesserit have been grooming him too.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So I guess I don't know. Maybe they'll cast Harry Styles as that character. Like who would be Timothée Chalamet's biggest rival?
Right. Tudyk. What's his first name? Alan.
Alan Tudyk. Yeah.
Alan Tudyk. I think that would just be funny to do. But
yeah. And what other characters? I guess they need to. I guess there's the two big ones that will show up.
Aurelian. You'd have to cast Aurelian.
Oh, okay. But she's the Emperor's daughter, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I guess they got to do her. Because she's like the narrator in the book. So it was interesting. They sort of they had sort of like Shawnee fill her role.
Yeah.
In this, so yeah, I'm gonna have to reread the book. So.
Well, I guess
book on Amazon, #1 selling in books right now. So they're making some money on the books again.
Go to your local bookstores, buy it there. You're going to pay a little bit more, but it's a great book to have in your collection.
I think I already have it on audiobook, so I'll probably just finish listening to that.
So I guess
Is there six of them?
Yeah, there's 6 by Herbert, and then there's like another 20 or 30 by his son and other authors. But the 6 by Herbert
20
himself.
or 30.
Yeah, you read those. Don't bother with the other ones.
Yeah.
But I guess if we want to go one by one and overall just kind of final thoughts on this movie.
I thought it was adequate. I would definitely be down for a part 2. I think we just need to streamline it, like less of the style, just more substance, better job with the exposition, give the characters more backstory, like especially the Harkonnen side. Maybe like why they hate the Atreides. I think the Baron really didn't do a lot in this movie either. Like, he has the scenes where he's like, in the bath, he's naked. He's like, kill them, kill these guys. And, what about the Freeman? Kill them. What about the Atreides? Kill them. What about Dr. Yue? Kill them.
Kill them all.
That was like basically.
You know what I'm going to say.
I also noticed he was heavily based off Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's got the shaved head, like he rubs his hand on his head. He's like sort of in the shadows. So like there was definitely, I think he was definitely based off that. That was sort of the interpretation. Definitely give Dave Bautista, the Beast, more to do. So, but yeah, and give Gurney more to do if he's still alive. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was adequate. Could have been better. Like, I think the first half was better than the second half, even though the first half was heavy on exposition. But I think they did it in a way that was both visually interesting and engaging. So, but yeah, overall, I think it was good. I like Denis Villeneuve as a director, so I think people who are fans of his other films will enjoy this as well. So,
Major.
So, I think this is important for my prosperity. I think now I have to show my kids this movie before I show them Star Wars. So maybe they'll have a better comprehension and appreciation for creativity and sci-fi from the 60s to the present day. That being said, if there's no sequel, I probably won't, and I'll never mention this movie to anyone ever again. It was beautiful, but I feel like this is the one movie. I mean, no movie should really choose style over substance, but especially not this movie. I just think if the exposition was so important, they should have done a better job with it. But it was pretty.
It was pretty. Rob?
I am more so looking forward to Timothy Chalamet as young Willy Wonka now.
Boo.
I would say that's probably my biggest takeaway from this movie.
Rob?
Yeah. Well, overall, I liked it. It definitely kept my interest just of seeing all the cool technology and ways they're using it, and all the different types of people they're fighting, and just all the visuals of it was really cool.
Best
But yeah,
feature
it's just if they did like a little better job explaining some things for people who are going in fresh, like I'd definitely enjoy it even more. But overall, I liked it, and I'm probably gonna rewatch it without our commentary. Maybe I'll catch a little more. So yeah, those are my thoughts on it.
Miss out Major's hilarious jokes.
Yeah.
They're
how many Star Wars references did we make in that?
as many as Dune did.
Yeah.
Oh, that little sound effect they had for every action scene.
Oh, the
So-
Wonder Woman music had to go.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what my final thought was. I grew up with Dune. I've always loved Dune. My brother and I, shout out to my brother Brian.
Hey, Brian.
We got way too into this as teenagers. There was computer games with Dune. There was the books. There was like all this crap that we had at our house. So I've grown up with this pretty much my whole life, and I love it. And I feel that the soundtrack to this movie adequately describes how adequate this movie it is. At times, the music was impressive, but then it became repetitive. And then we introduced the Wonder Woman music, which I don't get why that's a thing now. Yeah, my wife said she liked it, but I was like, no. And then I had to show her the pitch meeting where they make fun of the Snyder Cut.
Oh yeah.
And how he plays Wonder Woman music every time he says Wonder Woman, to explain why that's just such a joke now. But I think
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, it's fantastic.
If you listen to the music of this movie, you'll see where they had so much potential to do so much more, but then brought it back in and we're like, nah, we're good with this, and let's just leave it here. It is the C student of movies. Good, we're seeing the costumes are amazing. The visual effects when they're on point were some of the best visuals I've seen. The ornithopters alone were exactly how I envisioned them in my head.
Oh yeah, those are pretty cool.
And so when they do it right, it is amazing. But when they phone it in, it is obvious and it is frustrating. So
some of the green green screens.
I think they're definitely gonna do an extended cut when, like a year from now when they release this on Blu-ray or whatever. And I think they'll probably have more exposition scenes, at least in part one, just to tie up the exposition failures of the first part. So, but yeah, that's all I got.
That's all I got.
All right, That's our show, everybody. Major, you want to plug?
I watched the latest episode of Why the Last Man. Just because FX has given up on it doesn't mean I have. However, it was so boring, I don't remember any of it. So I guess we can go ahead and plug our podcast at Zealot Podcast on Twitter. You can email us at zealotzeitgeist@gmail.com. But Twitter, that's the way to go. Give us a follow. Go ahead, like, subscribe, share, rate the review, right?
Oh, we should throw our Discord on
Probably
Twitter or something too.
Yeah, we can throw the Discord on Twitter. Oh yeah, we can put that in the bio. Let's do that. That's a good idea. Look at that. You got some real witnessing some real brain power here. He says, not being able to make a complete sentence.
He needs spice.
See if we have
to awaken his mind.
At least one fan that shows up.
Sugar and spice and
hi.
everything nice.
Oh, that's a good line to end the podcast with. All right, bye everyone.